This is Chapter 1 of your driver's education course, Managing Risk When Driving. Make sure you have this title at the top of your paper so that you know where to look when we are discussing risk and reviewing for this part of the unit. What does a driver's license mean to you? What does it mean to drive safely? Your meaning might be completely different from someone else's, but I think for most students, having a license means freedom, means opportunity, means choices, but with those opportunities is going to come responsibility. What it means to drive safely can completely differ from others, but to drive safely it means 5 things. Monitor traffic and traffic control devices, observe and anticipate actions or other drivers, pedestrians, cyclists, know and comply with traffic regulations, search for and obtain information from frequently changing environments, and assess the consequences of alternate responses. Those are the 5 things it means to drive safely. A good driver should develop good, skillful, experienced drivers performs these steps as a matter of habit, minimizing the need for corrective action. Fortunately, not all driving is done under conditions that require advanced driving skills or constant intense level of attention. This level of attention does vary, and sometimes that's why people lose focus and end up having accidents. Your license and safety. Completing a driver's education course does not mean you can drive safely. A license only means that you've demonstrated basic knowledge and ability to control a motor vehicle. It will take you about 5 years to develop the driving ability demonstrated by an average driver. Nearly half of all new drivers will either be charged with a traffic offense or be involved in a collision during their first 12 months of driving. Did you know each year approximately 40,000 people die in motor vehicle collisions? That's equivalent to 2 jumbo jets crashing each week. Traffic crashes are the #1 killer of people ages 15 to 20. Nationally, more than 3,500 teenagers die in motor vehicle crashes each year. And 16-year-old drivers have the highest fatality rate. Here are some of the primary factors in which errors were committed causing crashes. The highest we have at 21%, not paying adequate attention to the path of travel. That means people were distracted with what was going on around them, and they did not make the proper response to what was going on. About 14% drove 5 or more miles per hour too fast. 7% took a curve too fast. Speed limits are limits. It's the fastest you should go. Heed the warnings. Please, please, please. You can read through these and see where people have the least amount of accidents due to errors committed. What is risk? Risk is a chance of injury, damage, or loss associated with a driving situation. A lack of awareness or ability to assess traffic or roadway conditions too frequently results in a late, inappropriate, or total lack of response from the driver. The odds? Few drivers are aware that up to 1 out of 10 vehicles is involved in a crash per year. That's more than 30% of drivers believe the odds of being involved in a crash are less than 1 in 1,000. There's 4 characteristics of risk. First, risk is always present. Risk is affected by all road users. Perceived risk differs from actual risk, and risk can be managed. Let's look and see how risk is always present. Here you have picture A and picture B. We have people traveling at a straight line. More than 50% of all vehicle occupant fatalities occur in a single vehicle crashes, mostly on relatively straight, rural stretches of highway. Why does this occur? Running off a straight roadway occurs due to one of the following reasons. This type of crash most frequently involves young drivers or drivers over the age of 65. In these cases, the driver runs off the road and fails to respond or responds incorrectly. Improper use of the brakes or inaccurate steering input can cause the vehicle to lose traction and strike a fixed object or possibly overturn. While such events involving young drivers usually occur after dark, those involving older drivers are more likely to occur between the times of 1 and 5 p.m. So, Our second point on risk and when it occurs is perceived risk perceived risk differs from the actual risk. What you see and what is actually occurring can be two different things. This bush line here on the corner is obstructing the driver's view. So the red car doesn't actually see or perceive that white car approaching the intersection. Blocked vision is a factor that should signal increased risk. Whenever a driver's ability to see is restricted, the driver must adjust speed, position, and visibility as appropriate rather than driving blindly into a dangerous situation. To reduce risk, drive with low beam headlights turned on at all times. Most cars have an automatic feature where your lights come on automatically. If your car does not do this, this might be something you would like to look into doing when you're driving. This helps other drivers see you. A vehicle with low beam headlights or DRLs on during daylight hours is visible to oncoming vehicles at almost twice the distance as the same vehicle without headlights turned on. So, using your lights can actually help you reduce risk. 3. As mentioned before, risk is affected by all road users. In picture A and B, we have a lot going on here, so there's a lot of potential for risk here. To reduce risk, roadway users can increase or decrease risk for themselves and other road users. The action of all roadway users, pedestrians, bicyclists, or drivers, affect all other users. So, for example, cyclists should probably wear bright colored clothing when they're riding on the roads. Pedestrians should be extra cautious and not stand too close to the road prior to crossing so they don't get hit. And make sure they're not standing behind a bush so that they are seen at all times. Separating potential hazards. Avoid meeting the pedestrian at the same time you meet the oncoming car. So it might cause you to have to slow down so that you're not meeting the pedestrian at the same time as you're meeting the car, because that can actually cause some bad reactions from the pedestrian or the other car. By slowing down, you separate these two by time and allowing distance, allowing you to address each separately, thus reducing your risk. Risk can be managed. How can you manage risk? Searching 20 to 30 seconds ahead along your intended path of travel for objects or conditions that could increase the level of risk. Being aware of the travel attraction and identifying an alternate path of 12 to 15 seconds ahead of time. Performing an aggressive visual search, making good decisions within the information gained from the visual search, and acting on your decisions appropriate. These are all ways in which you can reduce your risk. You need to be able to predict the action of other highway users that could increase the level of risk, assessing the consequences of alternative responses, and determining the best course of action. Acting on your decisions. You should make accurate and appropriate adjustments to speed and direction. Communicating with other roadway users, sometimes flashing your lights, sometimes sticking your hands out, making hand gestures, waving people on, is a way to communicate. Always leave enough distance between your vehicle and the road user ahead. The closer you get to an object, the more steering input you will need to maneuver around it. So give yourself plenty of space when driving. This will actually help you reduce the amount of risk you will acquire during driving. The graduated driver's license is a 3-step approach to ease the drivers into producing practice skill development under low risk conditions. So basically you have your learner's permit, and this is what new teen drivers get, which most of you will obtain, and you will practice with a licensed adult. Intermediate license, some states have this, where you actually drive with restrictions and have to drive for so many hours before you can get your actual license. Many states require the driver to be free of moving violations and at fault crashes for a number of months before being eligible for full license. A full license will typically happen around age 17 or 18, must meet the requirements of the intermediate, probationary, or provisional license stage. And then you have supervised driving. Many states require that you drive with a parent guardian at least 50 hours. Parents or guardians should continue to supervise their driving even after the completion of driver's education. So your parents probably still will monitor your driving quite a bit. AAA, company that we've used through our book, recommends that families adopt a parent-teen driving agreement. This is actually your homework assignment. You will need to develop a parent-teen driving agreement with your parents. I want you to have the conversation with your parents and talk to them about the responsibilities and rules that they want to have with you as you start driving. These help you set goals and expectations that encourage safe driving and help you both avoid misunderstandings about vehicle use and know the consequences when you violate your family agreement, your parent agreement that you have with your parents. I would like for you and your parents to sit down and write one up. I have some suggested ones, some suggested ideas for you, but I want it in writing in a signed contract, one for you and one for you and your parents, and one for you to turn in to me. So you need to have this done by Tuesday. If you have any questions, please come see me. Have a great day.